Good morning, Mr. Chairman, His Majesty, Honorable Head of States, Excellencies, Head of Delegations, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The government of Sri Lanka is pleased to be a part of this global platform. 2 years after the adoption of the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, it is an appropriate time for all of us to revisit the progress we have made so far in achieving our own commitments to the Sendai Framework, and also to share ideas and best practices to streamline the implementation of the Sendai Framework in our countries. I would like to take this opportunity to reconfirm the commitment of the government of Sri Lanka to achieve the targets of the Sendai Framework. We are continuing to progress we have made during the HFA period by taking a number of new measures to shift our focus from managing disasters to managing disaster risks. As an island nation, Sri Lanka is facing intensified challenges due to climate change hazards. During last 2 years, Sri Lanka has experienced devastating floods, landslides and droughts. Damages and economic losses caused by these disasters have exceeded $1 billion. The Ministry of Disaster Management has seriously considered the increasing trend of disasters and has collaborated with all ministries to implement medium and long-term disaster risk reduction programs in line with the Sendai priorities to minimize casualties, damage to infrastructure, and economic losses. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, since the adoption of the Sendai Framework, the Ministry of Disaster Management, in consultation with relevant stakeholders, has identified national targets and prepared a national action plan to implement the Sendai Framework, the regional action plan for Asia and the Pacific, which was compiled based on national action plans including that of Sri Lanka, was endorsed by the government of Sri Lanka. During the Asian Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction held in Delhi in 2016, Sri Lanka has already taken measures to translate salient points of the framework into our local languages and conducted a series of awareness programs at national and subnational levels. Our aim is to disseminate the key Sendai message to the most vulnerable with specific focus to school community. Capturing the achievement and gap in implementing the Hugo framework, we have prepared the country status report and identified the baseline for Sendai indicators. Sri Lanka was represented in the open-ended intergovernmental expert group to develop global indicators and have placed to take part in the feasibility study initiated by the government of Japan to identify the availability of data for indicators. Sri Lanka has also made measures to complete the country readiness report. After the devastating floods and landslides in May 2016, my ministry led a post-disaster need assessment which was supported by the World Bank, European Union, and United Nations to identify damages, losses, and recovery needs. The figures discovered by PDNA was alarmingly high. The damages and losses exceeded $660 million. With the increase of unpredictable extreme weather events, these figures could be new normal for countries like ours. In 2016, Sri Lanka established web-based damage and loss assessment system, which will strengthen the existing de-inventure information system and enable Sendai reporting. Our government is in the process of developing the next National Disaster Risk National Plan, giving due consideration to recommendations to the PDNA and National Action Plan for Sendai Framework. The government has also committed funds to develop risk profile for frequently occurring hazards, aiming at obtain risk information by 2020. The government has already taken measures to introduce risks transfer mechanism through the National Insurance Trust Fund to ensure the residual risks. Challenges faced by us in implementing the Sendai framework will still enormous. Inadequate capacity of development agencies on risk-sensitive development could easily hamper our efforts in reducing disaster risks. Increased international cooperation for knowledge sharing and capacity building is thus important to achieve the Sendai targets. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Government of Mexico, members of the organizing committee, and the UNISDR for making arrangements to successfully conduct this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency Anura Priyadarshana Yapa.